good evening. Thanks for staying with us here on Republic Live. I'm Kritsween. This evening, we keep our focus as we're just 1 hour away from when that particular event will begin, with the Prime Minister all set to unveil the Netaji hologram. That expected post 6 p.m. and we'll take in a word from our experts joining us live on this broadcast as well on how this becomes an extremely historic day for the entire country. First up, here are details of what's expected in just a short while from now.
As the country commemorates the 125th birth anniversary of Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose, Prime Minister Narendra Modi is set to unveil a hologram of Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose at the canopy adjoining the India Gate. In a fitting tribute to Netaji on his 125th birth anniversary, India will witness the first ever of its kind hologram statue, which will adorn the India Gate till the time a concrete granite-made statue is erected to take its place. The hologram statue will be powered by a 30,000 lumens 4K projector and an invisible high-gain 90% transparent holographic screen has been built in such a way so that it is not visible to visitors. The third image of Bose will be projected on it to create the effect of a hologram. With the hologram sculpture to be followed by a majestic statue in honor of the freedom fighter, India is finally giving the great warrior the due he deserved. Bureau Report, Republic TV.
So yes, as you can see on your television screens, details of the Netaji hologram that will be unveiled by Prime Minister just this evening on your television screens. The details that Republic is getting to you. We'll also keep you ahead with the live updates that we're to pick up in just a bit. But yes, a quick recap of what's expected. The installation of statue is a part of the year-long celebrations of the 125th anniversary. The dimensions of the hologram, as you can see, 28 feet long, 6 feet wide. It will be installed under a canopy. And to kickstart the Republic Day celebrations in the right manner, the Government of India has decided that they will be unveiling the hologram till the granite statue is unveiled later this year. Now, the symbol of India's indebtedness to him is what the Government of India has said, and going ahead with this decision, Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose's birth anniversary is celebrated as Parakram Divas. But we're looking at a series of changes that are being introduced by the government of the day to kickstart Republic Day celebrations this year onwards. 23rd of January is when we will see these celebrations begin, and they will last till the 30th of Jan. And much talked about Netaji hologram that will be unveiled by Prime Minister Narendra Modi today itself. A lot of talk that is going on about the relevance of Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose, about how this is a welcome development. We'll be taking in a word from our experts as well in just a bit. Joining us on this broadcast this evening, Major General S.P. Sinha, defense analyst, with us on the broadcast live. Also, PKD Nambiar, who's a political analyst, is with us on this broadcast. Good evening to you, Mr. Nambiar. Everyone is saying that this is a welcome development, and of course a series of changes that have been introduced by the government of the day to celebrate Republic Day celebrations starting this year itself. What do you have to make of the canopy where that statue will be installed? Today the hologram will be unveiled by Prime Minister Narendra Modi. What do you make of this big development, sir?
This is long outstanding. I think the nation is really proud and indebted to the Prime Minister for doing such a great move. I think there is some kind of, it is said in the history that even both in the pre-independence and the post-independence, which is called as the Nehruvian era, there was a direct move or a deliberate move to undermine the importance of some of our greatest leaders, whether it is Subhash Chandra Bose, whether it is Bhimrao Ambedkar, or to the Sardar Patel. And some of these greatest leaders of who had actually given us the freedom what we all enjoy today, is somehow they have never been given that kind of a credit, both in that time and even the post of their life. I mean, in other words, the history is written for more of like a Nehruvian era, or a country which is made by the Nehru and the Gandhi, and rest of the people were never being given that credit. Today we are actually giving the minimum which is expected for the greatest leader of, greatest son of India, Subhash Chandra Bose. we will be at least giving some credit that the right place for his memorial or to the statue which will be actually celebrating his life and what he has done to this country and the freedom which we are all enjoying. I think we are undoing some of the greatest sins what the post-independence and before the independence some of the Congress leaders have done to this country and to our history, to the truth of India, to the heroes of India, the unsung and the heroes really who had given us the freedom is now getting the credibility. See, if you really look at it, what the Congress has done, even in the Sardar Patel and the Ambedkar, they have been given the Bharat Ratna, is been also been given to them only in 1990 and 1991. The Congress government in 60 years could not give them even the Bharat Ratna. And please note, they were all the Congress leaders. 1938, the Subhash Chandra Bose was the Congress president of 38 and 39. But even then, he was never being given that kind of a credit. I think we must thankful to the Prime Minister Narendra Modi for doing those the wrong of the past, correcting it, whether it is in the form of creating one of the largest statue for Sardar Patel and in the India Gate, the Subhash Chandra Bose statue. I think it's a great move, and we must salute the spirit of India today.
Absolutely. Before I take this to General Sinha, Mr. Nambiar, a tweet that is coming for Prime Minister Narendra Modi, and I'd quickly like to read it out for our viewers. The Prime Minister, remember, shortly will be unveiling the hologram statue, and he's taken to Twitter because there's so much enthusiasm really about today's event amongst the people of the country. He says, and I quote, "I'm glad to see the immense enthusiasm towards the unveiling of Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose's hologram statue at India Gate this evening at 6 p.m. At the same program, the Subhash Chandra Bose Apna Prabandhan Puraskars would also be conferred." So yes, making it all the more memorable. That is Prime Minister Narendra Modi essentially once again talking about the enthusiasm that he is witnessing around unveiling of Netaji's hologram statue that's set to take place at 6 p.m. And I'd like to quickly go across to Major General S.P. Sinha on that. General Sinha, this has once again brought back everyone's attention to the contribution of Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose to our freedom struggle. Now, much of that has been spoken of if we go by our textbooks as well, what we've read, when we were young and so on and so forth. But what everyone is now talking about is a huge part of how Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose had envisioned New India. His idea about New India is perhaps missing, and that is something that we are now focusing on. And this, in that sense, unveiling the statue, talking about Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose, dedicating this Republic Day to him is so much about that.
You see, Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose, the forgotten hero of India, the first Prime Minister of India, and the hero who gave India the freedom. Now, I would like to quote Mr. Attlee, Richard Attlee, who was the then Prime Minister of Britain between 1945 to 51. In 1956, he had come to Calcutta and he had stayed with acting Chief Justice of Calcutta, Fani Bhushan Chakrabarti, who was the Chief Justice of Calcutta High Court and acting. He stayed with him for 2 days. And when Mr. Chakrabarti asked him that you had won World War II, what was the compelling reason for you to leave India? And he said quit it. He said that Quit India movement had tapered off to a great extent. And in 1947, there was no such compelling situation. Why did you leave? Mr. Attlee said 2 reasons. Erosion of loyalty of British Crown amidst Indian armed forces, primarily Navy and Army, and as a result of military activities of Netaji. To that, he questioned what was the extent of Gandhiji's influence on British decision to slowly get out of India. And he slowly chewed out the word MINIMAL, minimal. So this goes to prove that the person, the hero who gave us freedom, were not other leaders of this country. They are may have played a part, but the primary reason for India to get independence and Britain's decision to leave India was Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose. Another aspect I would like to mention that in February 1946, almost 20,000 sailors of Royal Navy who were there in 78 ships did mutiny, and the British officers and sailors were massacred. So when the British soldiers ordered the naval sailors that you shoot these mutineers, these mutineers, they shouted Shivaji ki jai, Chhatrapati Shivaji ki jai. To that, these sailors who were not mutinying said, we cannot fire on those soldiers who are saying Chhatrapati Shivaji ki jai. There was revolt in the Royal Air Force. There was revolt in Indian Army in Jabalpur. As a result, British were terrified. Can you imagine 40,000 British ruled India, approximately ruled India, which had a population of about 23 crores? Right? So the reason why British left was Subhash Chandra Bose. And not, when we were small children, we were taught, दे दी हमें आजादी बिना खड़ग बिना ढाल, साबरमती के संत तूने कर दिया कमाल. Mahatma Gandhi may have played a small part, but he was not instrumental in ensuring British decision to leave India. Another important aspect I would like to point out, that after termination of World War II, after 46, there were more than 36 countries which went out of the control of Britain. There was no Mahatma Gandhi there. There was no Nehru there. How they were responsible? How they could manage independence from Britain? So that's what goes through, that there are other compelling reasons, and not civil disobedience movement launched by Mr. Mahatma Gandhi, which ensured that India became independent. It was the fear of Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose. Let me tell you that when Indian National Army, there was the Red Fort trial carried out against INA soldiers, there was lot of discontentment within Indian armed forces. They did not.
Absolutely. General Sinha, we have a little bit of trouble with your audio. We'll reconnect that line with you and come back to you in just a bit. But we are constantly talking about Netaji today. And like you also pointed out, the British too were all praises about the army that Netaji had created. Well, nearly after 75 years of independence, we are seeing this fitting tribute to Netaji, and one can say that this is a new beginning of how we will be seeing a statue right under that canopy in the India Gate premises of Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose later this year. So a historical day indeed. This is the man who created an army all by himself in his quest for freedom for the country, and in that sense, we are seeing India reclaim history once again with this big decision that has now been taken. Let's quickly play out some more details and a backgrounder of what we're set to witness today, and then I'll go across to our guests again.
This is what the history of India looked like up until 1968. At Rajpath, there once stood a statue of King George V under a canopy. Installed in the year 1938, the 49 feet tall bitter reminder of the British occupation of India mocked our nation for 3 decades. 30 years on, the statue was removed in 1968 and shifted to the Coronation Park in central Delhi. And for 53 years, the canopy at Rajghat has been lying vacant, that is, up until now. It is after 74 years of independence that India will see the beginning of the installation of Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose's statue at India Gate, the man who raised an entire army in his quest for freedom from the clutches of the British Raj. The national capital is still, however, crammed with Lutyens architecture, a rather painful and hurtful reminder of India as a British colony. The construction of Central Vista, too, is the undoing of the now dwindling British-era architecture. But it is the installation of Netaji's statue that really truly reflects an India which has risen and been rebuilt from the ashes of its martyrs. Bureau Report, Republic TV.
Back to Mr. Nambiar. Mr. Nambiar, now, back in 1928, when India was still under the clutches of British rule, it was Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose who was thinking of democracy, who was thinking of democracy being the political framework of a free India. He knew the importance of international relations. He knew how one has to keep up with the international community in order to grow and in order to advance. And that's the kind of thought that one needs to think about. When today we talk about Netaji, we need to look at a larger picture and the kind of lessons he had for everyone in store.
Christine, you actually said it. Netaji was the only leader who actually internationalized the Indian freedom struggle. Before Netaji, there was no international. It was only between maybe once upon a time or once in a while Mahatma Gandhi or some of these leaders who traveled to the UK and come back. Beyond that, the Indian freedom struggle was quite limited to the Indian soil. But Netaji, in the year 1941, when he moved through the Afghanistan to Russia to Germany to Japan, he made Indian freedom struggle an international struggle into the international forum. He was able to get support from all across the world. I mean, wherever he had gone, whether it is to a Hitler, to the Germany or to the Soviet Union, and even in partnering with a country like Japan. So the idea, even in fact, if you really recall that the Japan had given the Andaman Islands to him, and he even unfolded the INA's the flag there. So the idea, what you said is absolutely right, that the Netaji played a major role in galvanizing the international support, because he realized that it is not just the ahimsa alone cannot get the Swaraj, or ahimsa alone cannot make us an independent country, and it is our right. The freedom is our right. It is not something like a begging bowl in front of the mighty Britishers even then. So you also need to understand that there was no other leader who was having the courage to fight against the British army. He was absolutely courageous. He was the leader who led and created an army and led from the front. He fought against the mighty power, and he had a vision about an India. See, imagine if, suppose if the Netaji was the first Prime Minister of India, many of the inherited problems of today, which may have given, whether I don't know whom take the responsibility for it. Now, I would say the partition, the India-Pakistan, the partition would not have been there. If the Kashmir issue, what we are facing even today after 75 years also, it may not have been there. If the Netaji was the Prime Minister or first Prime Minister of India, the Indo-China border, even today we are fighting on the India-China border, that would not have been there. No, you can say that it is all hypothetical, but the truth is that all those who has even read a bit about Netaji's journey as a freedom fighter, as the real hero of the soil, I think it clearly gives an impression to all those people that he was truly a hero, and a hero whose life was never celebrated or never been given that kind of an importance in Indian history. I think today is a day we all Indians must celebrate, that a hero has given finally a heroic welcome at the Rajpath at the India Gate lawns. I think the salute to the Prime Minister who took 75 years. It's not a small time. And imagine, even if you really recall in the 1947 when India was getting the freedom all across, why the Nehru and the Gandhis were not ready to give any kind of an importance to the great leader like
and today, Mr. Nambiar, perhaps we need to remind ourselves of the faith that Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose placed in our democracy. That democracy is indeed not a perfect system, but the best possible alternative, the best possible system that we can have in place to run the country efficiently and smoothly. We're going to put that thought to hold. General Sinha and Mr. Nambiar, stay on with us. Need to take a very short break here.